require some skin in the game. How should you pay for your children's college? Well, frankly, I don't think you should. So let me share in this episode ways to empower your children and give them a hand up instead of a handout and just paying for their college outright. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've helped a lot of people through my various courses and classes teach responsibility and accountability to their children and grandchildren. But whenever I make the statement, you know what, I did not pay for our children's college education. I don't think you should. I get this gasp. And they, what? You're not being a responsible parent. I'm going, well, wait a minute here. Let's talk about how to empower your children and grandchildren. And I often tell the story about my own parents and how I was raised, and the same is true with my wife's parents, because they couldn't afford to pay for our college. We didn't expect them to. I came from a family of 6, as did my wife. And so we knew we had to earn our way through college. I got good grades. I got several different types of scholarships through college, as did my wife, Sherry. I got grants. I got loans. I paid them back. But we learned how to be responsible and accountable, but I also worked 30 hours a week in college. I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. My wife worked at a bookstore. And you know, I noticed that we had far better study habits than most of our friends whose parents were just sort of shelling it out. They goofed around all the time. And I thought, you know what? We're learning something here that I'm very grateful for. And so when Sherry, my wife, and I had our 6 children and now our 16 grandchildren, we do not lead them to believe that we're just going to sit there and pay for their college. You know, the big problem is a lot of youth today think that you go to college to get a job. And then when they graduate from college, they think the world owes them a living. They feel entitled. No, you go to college to get an education. And so we believe in education more than school in our family. And so we would take our children actually out of school at least twice a year for a week in February and again in October to educate them. I share this in my various books and other episodes. But they wouldn't miss a beat on their grades because they would let their teachers, the principal, the vice principal, know that they were going to be learning these principles and getting educated. Many times they came back and shared with their classmates at the request of the teachers what they learned. And my kids learned how to be entrepreneurial and the 4 freedoms and all of the incredible things that I have invested over $3 million in my life to learn. I want my children and grandchildren to learn those things. And this is what has helped them take off when they went out and started to make a living. But they learned more from our family vacations on how to be a successful business owning, entrepreneurial doctor or dentist or financial advisor than they ever learned in school or in college. And so we wanted to encourage them to get the education, but I wanted them to take ownership, to have skin in the game. So how do you do that? Sherry, my wife, and I, we had equal opportunities for our 6 children, not equal distribution. Oh, we'll pay for all your college education no matter where you choose to go. When I teach this to many people that are highly successful, they want to encourage their posterity to get an education, but they may match dollar for dollar, let's say. These are called rules of governance. And so I had one gentleman who believed in education, but he would match dollar for dollar on every dollar that his children or grandchildren would save or earn in a scholarship. He would match dollar for dollar. Other times he would offer loans. And so we've done this in our family where our children could borrow money to help them in their education or go on a semester abroad. And they had to come up with skin in the game. They had to sacrifice. They had to pay a portion themselves or come up with a plan on how to pay it back. So for example, our daughter, she wanted to go on a semester abroad in New Zealand after she went to Israel and Egypt, because in our family bank, is what we call it, we encouraged our children to go on a semester abroad to be able to learn another culture, another language. If they wanted a suggestion, we said, you know, Israel and Egypt has a really good program, because I want you to understand why that's where East meets West, and there's a lot of history there and a lot of future history we believe in our family that's going to take place. So I wanted them to sort of see firsthand we're Christian. I wanted to see where some of those settings took place in the Bible. Well, they took advantage of that, but they had to save. They had to sacrifice. They had to sell their motorcycle or their car, come up with skin in the game, and we might match dollar for dollar to help them on a semester abroad. It wasn't some vacation. They had to get good grades and study. We were blessed. 3 of our children were able to take advantage of that. Others wanted to, but there was too much unrest at the time. Our daughter Ashley had such an incredible experience. When she came back, she wanted to go to New Zealand on a semester abroad, because that was sort of in alignment with her minor in recreational development. Her major was in accounting. And so I said, oh, honey, go fill out a solution formulator. That's a tool that I developed years ago. And she sat down. She said, oh, yeah, I forgot. She went up to her bedroom in 1 hour. She filled out a solution formulator. She basically said, should I go on a semester abroad in New Zealand? So she writes down what are the benefits, what are the 3 greatest benefits if she was going to go to New Zealand. And she would have these experiences, and it would create this, an opportunity, what have you. Well, what are the biggest obstacles? So she identified the obstacles that stood in the way. Well, she had already spent all of her savings on going to Israel and Egypt, and it would require that she graduates a semester later than what she was originally planning. And so she had these obstacles, and I said, circle the top 3, and then across from each of those obstacles, she wrote down the 3 greatest strategies or resources to overcome those obstacles. So for example, she said, well, I have a car, I love it, but you know what? I can sell my car. I've got equity in that. I can always get a new car when I get back, and I can come up with money this way. And actually, if I graduate a semester later, it dovetails with this goal and so forth. Oh, it'll actually work out as good or better than my previous plan. With every obstacle, she had a corresponding resource or strategy. It was her decision. See, I don't want to make my kids' decisions. I want to empower them with tools like the solution formulator to help them make their own decision. She came back downstairs. She goes, you know what? I think this is a good idea, and this is what I can do to have skin in the game, to be able to pay, but I am still $1,500 short. Out of the family bank, could you loan me $1,500 and I'll pay it back $500 a month in 3 months when I get back? I said, honey, this looks really good. Loan approved. See, she didn't come down and say, would you pay for it? Can I have? No, she said, can I borrow? Our kids have never asked for a handout. They ask for maybe a loan or a matching program, an incentive. And I said, you know what, take the pressure off, honey. I'll pay $300 a month for 5 months so you can buy a new car. Loan approved. See, she was able to feel empowered from that decision. So what you want to do is to provide opportunities where you are loaning them money, or you're matching, you're giving them assistance, but you require skin in the game, and they will take that education far more serious. They'll get good grades. They won't goof off. And this has probably helped more families than you can imagine to just sit there and shell out money on professional students. I've seen some clients who, well, Richard Rossi, a friend of mine, he had 2 sons. He invested $1.5 million on their college educations. One had 2 PhDs, one had an MBA, but they both moved back home after graduating because they couldn't find a job. We taught them critical principles in 6 months, and they had job interviews lined up, starting at $250,000 or more. But there are things that the colleges and universities just frankly aren't teaching that you can teach them through these types of experiences. And so I mention them in my book, Entitlement Abolition, and if you would like to learn about those, I can fire out a free copy to you. Watch this episode next, and you'll see how you can go to entitlementabolition.com nutritionbook.com and get a free copy of this. Just pay $5.95 shipping and handling. But this will help you to be able to empower your children on getting an education, which is more important than just going to school.